Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, the original K-State sports show. Here's your host, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to this kind of unexpected edition of the PowerCat Podcast. Cole floated the idea today that if the K-State women won, we'd do a post-game podcast, and here we are. It's Fitz, it's Cole and Fitz. Well, actually, he's not Fitz, it's Ethan. I'm the Fitz around here. I had to talk to an offensive lineman today and tell him who's boss. I'm Fitz.
I'm sure he appreciated that.
Yeah,
he was a nice guy. He was great.
All linemen always are.
Too much hair, but very nice. K-State wins 59-50 over the 9th-ranked TCU Horned Frogs. Man, let's just cut to the chase here. That was a really ugly first half of basketball, followed by a wildly entertaining second half of basketball. But Ethan, let's go to you. Serena Sundell. She looked like an All-American in this game, and it was impressive. The way she took over the game for K-State in the second half was absolutely amazing. She finishes the game with 27 points, 4 or 5 from the line, 1 or 3 from 3, but 6 rebounds, 4 assists. But when K-State needed a bucket, they went to Miss Sundell.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it at the end of the first half. The team looked gassed. They scored 11 points in the second quarter. Didn't look like they knew where the offense was going to come from. Serena only had 4 points in the whole first half. And then out of nowhere, 23 points in the second half. She was the leading scorer, the leading rebounder, and the leading assist player for K-State today. What is there not to say? I mean, that wasn't just some random team she came in and dominated. She made TCU have to stop her. And when TCU tried to stop her, guess what? She found Sanchez for a big three, Tamira Poindexter for a big three. When you have a point guard that can do what she does, it doesn't matter if you're missing an All-American center. Yep. It's just Serena's going to take over and win it.
Yeah. Cole, it was honestly when TCU started to open it up in the second half and, they looked a little more interested. I thought, oh, boy, here we go. But, boy, this K-State team came in with a plan, and they executed that plan, and the defense was amazing for K-State.
That's what kept them in the game in the first half. The defense was spectacular, and Jeff Mittie talked about that with Sophie Smith of ESPN Plus at halftime. She asked him, Coach, what do you think about your team's performance? And he's like, well, we're not making baskets, but our effort's right there. And you could kind of tell when he was going into the locker room that he knew they were going to make some adjustments and they were going to come out and they were going to make this a game again. And, I give a lot of credit. You brought up Serena, Ethan, but I think the teammates understanding and letting it be known she is the one who is carrying us right now. So we're just going to get out of the way and we're going to give her the ball. And guys, I go back to how Ioka Lee has been in the past when it's been that kind of game. The teammates know we're going to give the ball to Yoki and good things are going to happen. It felt like that same thing with Serena tonight. Everybody knew that she was going to get on the block, and it didn't matter who was going to guard her because the outcome was going to be a bucket. And I thought it was brilliant strategy to leave Gisela Sanchez in the game.
Yes.
It forced Prince to go out of the paint because she had to respect Sanchez's three-point making ability, which then opened up the block for Serena. So I give the coaches a lot of credit in this game, but I give all the credit in the world to those ladies because they played their best game in the second half when they needed it most.
Yeah, Sanchez was I can't even tell you how impressed I was with her effort because she was so disruptive. She used her length and her speed against TCU and was really disruptive. You look at her stat line and you're not blown away, but you watch her play and she played a whale of a basketball game.
You throw in the 2 assists. One of those assists was on a big and one to Tamira Poindexter when it looked like the offense went dead. Like you said, stretching the floor with Sidonia. Once they wanted to help Serena, when Serena would get in the low post, they'd always bring that backside defender. And TCU thought it was smart that, okay, we'll just leave Sidonia in the paint. And sure enough, Sanchez hits a massive 3 to give K-State a 2-possession lead late in the game, and they never looked back. Sanchez doesn't get the number stat. She never has, but she's a great defender 1 through 5. She's fast. She's getting a lot better with the ball in her hands. She was great. I mean, all the centers were great tonight. Sidonia looked frustrated. She looked like she couldn't get in the block. Everything was in the mid range, which was a big thing I pointed out in my pregame, was that make Sidonia shoot the mid range. Do not let her get easy baskets. And all Kennedy, Eliza, Sanchez, even Amani did a great job of forcing Sidonia to do everything outside the paint.
Yeah, if you're a K-State women's basketball fan and you want coverage, Ethan does his coverage of the Cats on our VIP message board, so it requires a subscription. And lucky for you, we are at 60% off until 11 o'clock tonight. So you got a couple hours to get that done. 60% off if you want to get behind the paywall and unlock a lot of recruiting. Excuse me, that Cole will be doing. And of course, a lot of our analysis and that type of stuff is behind the paywall. Cole, people are really buying into this women's team. It took a while, but now with the students back, that really just seemed like an incredible atmosphere. And I'll get to E because he was in it, but this team's fun, although that first half wasn't particularly fun for anyone, but that was a great product. That was a great game. That was two really good teams going at each other.
It's felt like in the past with this group, because this group's been together for quite some time now. And, you know, in the past, this has kind of been one of those games where, they haven't always found a way to win it. And so I'll be honest, guys, I was pretty nervous for this game simply because of the matchup problems that TCU provided. But I think that K-State did an outstanding job, as you talked about, Ethan, on Prince. But I go back to Haley Van Lith because she is a scorer. That's what she does. And there were some plays that she made where it was like, that's next level. That is high level basketball. She would get trapped, step through it, find an open teammate for a shot. You know, little plays like that where if K-State's going up against any other point guard in the conference, it's probably a turnover. But I give TCU a lot of credit as well in this game. I've seen some people who know more about women's hoops than I do, or at least claim to, that have said on social media that this was just a bad game by TCU and, you know, they'll figure it out for next time. But guys, I got to tell you, the next time that these two teams play, there's going to be an All-American center who's going to be able to neutralize their all-conference center. And this team is going to look completely different. To me, guys, the most impressive part about tonight is that K-State was able to do this without arguably its best player and one of the best players in program history, which it makes you smile because this team has gone through so much the last few years, and they finally figured out how to play without Ioka Lee.
They look pretty good the last two games without her. Seem to know what they want to do. We'll get to Haley Van Lith in a second here, but what was that atmosphere like at Bramwich Coliseum? Oh,
unreal. The students, unreal. I arrived about 40 minutes till tip off. GA and student sections were already filled. Great atmosphere. I don't think it's going to change after that. There's a little break. K-State now goes on the road for the next two games, but when UCF comes to town in 10 days, Saturday at 4 p.m., I think we're going to see another really good crowd on hand.
Yeah, it was impressive that they came close to sell it, didn't quite get there. Okay, boys, Haley Van Lith, she's a star. It's a big deal that TCU brought her in through the transfer portal. She ended the night with 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, but also 4 turnovers. She was 5 of 14 from the field and 0 of 3 from three-point range. Boys, they did a good job on her. And one of the plays down the stretch that is going to stick with me is when Sundell took her baseline and outworked her and got to the rim and scored around her. And I thought that's time in the gym against time on Instagram. I mean, I just thought that's a basketball player, and that's a social media star that's really good at basketball. I mean, Serena took over that game and just kind of showed her up in that moment. And I thought it was indicative of the night.
You know that from The Last Dance, the famous saying is, I took that personal. And there's a lot of people who've been talking about Haley Van Lith being the better point guard than Serena Sundell. And it definitely looked like one of those games where Serena was like, no, like, I'm better than you. And I think it's pretty cool to see, because that's kind of how this women's team is, right? Like, they're ranked 12th in the country, but they're so much better than that. Everybody says, oh, they don't have any good wins. Well, it's like, yeah, they take that personal and they go out there and they just kick the crap out of every team they play. But Fitz, you said 4 of 15 from the field. To me, that's the biggest stat. It's the way K-State defended her. You knew she was going to shoot shots. Would she have one three-point make on the – she didn't have a single one. So, again, that's, to me, the defensive effort, even when it was 8-8 after the first quarter, you're like, okay, K-State's going to start making their shots. And when they did, it was all gas, because this effort, to me, God, that's what's going to stick with me, is that defensive effort on Van Lith the whole entire night, and nothing came easy.
Ethan?
Yeah, Ziana Walker. I mean, only had 2 points, wasn't great on offense, but she might have only scored 2 points, but who knows how many points she actually gave the team with her defense on Haley Van Lith. And hell, Taryn Sides. I was worried about Taryn on Van Lith. Taryn did a great job staying in front of her, forcing her off the 3-point line. I mean, this defense, it was 9 players, all played great defense. Yep. And Ziana, Jaylen at times on Van Lith, Serena, they kept throwing different looks at Haley Van Lith. And Van Lith struggled to figure it out. I mean, still, Van Lith is going to score. Van Lith's going to get assists. She's that good of a player. But K-State kept rotating who's guarding her. It just kept bugging her. She figure out Taryn Sides. Okay, we'll throw Jaylen on. It was just such a great coaching job defensively to mix up the looks on defense on Van Lith and force her to try to figure it out every time down the floor.
There was a moment in the game, and it was second half, when Taryn Sides was guarding Van Lith, and the combination of those two made me chuckle, because here you have this social media star going to TCU, one of the big money schools in the nation, and everyone around the country knows who she is, if you're a women's basketball fan or not. And she's a great player. And here's this small town Kansas girl, literally is the farthest thing from a social media star you could get. She's just a hoops player. She just goes out there and shoots the ball. And I just laughed at that. She must be thinking, well, Taryn's probably thinking, I have no idea who this is. Yeah, you know, I mean, but she's on the scouting. I can't see her growing up, looking at that stuff. But who knows? I think Taryn was probably in the gym. I thought it was really funny, but very telling of how this game was played. It was a gutsy, heart-filled win for Kansas State, as they didn't play well at times, played awful at times, but not defensively, not with effort. And Cole, you were right. Coach Mitty sums it up going to break. It was going into halftime. The effort was there. The kind of performance wasn't, and it came around. But K-State wanted that. They really wanted that, and they went out and earned it.
And to me, the biggest takeaway from this whole entire game, I know we've talked about a lot, guys, but Jaylen Glenn has turned into a difference maker. And I remember watching her play as a freshman, and obviously she came in with Serena. She came in with Briley Glenn, who's redshirting this year. I remember watching her play as a freshman. You're like, okay, there's something there, but it's going to take a while. And even last year at times, it was like she can make shots every once in a while, but what is she like? Wow. I mean, the transformation and the hard work that she's put in to become the basketball player she has. They need to throw her tape together at the end of the season and give that to every single high school recruit and say, if you come to Kansas State, this is what you start as a freshman, and this is how you end as a senior, because she is a completely different player, and she is absolutely automatic. She's automatic when she gets open in transition for a three-pointer. She finished the game 6 of 7 from the field on 37 minutes, 1 minute less than Serena, 2 of 2 from 3, along with 4 rebounds and 2 assists. She finished with 14 points. I know that it's easy to look at those points and say, no, she's important, but I'm just so impressed game by game with her progression in this season.
Ethan, you said it when we did a podcast earlier this week. When she gets her feet set, lights out, she's going to hit that three.
Oh, I mean, she's turned into, when you're struggling all night, when your offense is struggling, you need that one player who, okay, we're in a tough situation. They're going to hit the shot. 6 for 7 tonight is a massive number. I don't think anyone even comes close to that percentage-wise for either team. 2 for 2 from 3. She doesn't force the three. She doesn't like the look. She'll drive the ball. But when she gets, her feet set, that transition 3 in the second half, you just knew once she got in that corner and there's no one around her, that's 3 points. Yep. And that's big when you lose Aoka Lee in a center. You need that player who's going to when they get the open look, they're going to hit it.
Well, here's a topic that I was trying to figure out how to bring in, and someone bailed me out. Colson, thank you for the topic here. Jeff Mittie has taken a lot of flack the last couple seasons, but he came through in a huge way tonight. Masterful game plan. I kind of thought the same thing. Coach Mittie does get a lot of flack for being more the recruiter than the coach. And it's true with his staff, and they're recruiting at a really high level now.
Yeah.
I think their game plans without Aoka Lee have been brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've done an incredible job of scheming to their strengths against the other team's weaknesses, knowing that you don't have the big presence in the middle that makes them adapt to you. You're going to have to do something to them that they don't expect that makes them adapt to you, and teams haven't been able to do it. And I think Coach Mittie is and his staff, I don't know who's pulling the strings on all those moves, but Colson's right. Tonight's game plan was brilliant, and particularly on the defensive end, they worked it and got it done. It was impressive. They
stuck with it. I think that's the most impressive part. I mean, it's so easy when you only score 8 points in the first quarter and you're down by 6 at halftime to be like, all right, we got to change this. But I mean, that was pretty much the game plan in the first half. And defensively, the way that they were hedging screens, that was one thing that I noticed. It got them beat a little bit in the fourth quarter a few times, but the way that they were hedging screens and putting pressure on the ball constantly, they pressed the whole entire night. They're up by 9 points in the final minute of the game, and Mittie's having to tell them, no, just get back, because they are in attack mode on defense, and that says so much about a team. And Fitz, you probably remember those old Missouri teams under Mike Anderson who would literally press the entire game. Bob Huggins pressed Virginia. And it would just be so annoying because as an offense, you're like, we can't even set anything up. And if K-State has that ability, with when Aoka Lee comes back, they're not going to be able to press as much. But without her on the floor, if they just immediately go into a press, then it becomes difficult for teams to try and figure it out in the middle of a game. How are they going to be able to beat this press? And then when Lee comes back on the floor, how are they going to be able to deal with her? This coaching staff has been heads and shoulders above where they were at this point last year, and I think they'd probably tell you that.
I agree. Ethan, it's not easy to teach a team how to press effectively. It just isn't. That's something that it almost has to become muscle memory in what you're doing. You have to react so fast if it's going to be effective. If you're thinking during the middle of a press where I'm supposed to be, well, you're not there on time. And they look like a team that presses every game in practice and games, every opportunity they can. In the parking lot, they're running a press. Getting off the bus, they're running a press. They played at that level. Like Cole said, teams that do that on the regular, they bought in. Again, the women bought into what their coaches were telling them and executed something that they do, but they used it against a really good team for almost an entire game.
I mean, yeah, you could have easily gone down 6.5 and like, okay, this isn't working anymore. We need to switch up our scheme. No, they bought in, and they just wore TCU down. TCU didn't score for the final 4 minutes of the whole game. Didn't score once. And then throw in, you made 7 of your last 8 field goals. It's just sticking with it. Last season when Aoka went out, it was kind of always like, okay, what's the new game plan? The coaching staff didn't really seem to know what they were going to do. Maupin would have a good game, and they'd go, okay, Maupin's the answer. But this season, it's just like, okay, Aoka's out. This is what we're doing. It might take a game or two, aka the Colorado game, to work out the pains and stuff, but it's hard to switch mid-season to just change everything you did. But tonight was the apex of what this team can do without Aoka.
Yeah.
You throw in the fact they scored 91 at KU the game before. Yeah. This team can score the ball too. It wasn't a great night shooting, but when your defense is holding a top 10 team in the country to less points than South Carolina allowed, you're going to have a good chance of winning any game, no matter how bad your offense is on any night.
Yeah, it was something. I'm telling you what, Cole, this really opens it up for this team. I mean, now we're talking about a team that last year they were just trying to survive until they got Aoka back. They're thriving this year. Granted, they lost to Colorado first game out, but without her. But I don't think that is any indicator of where this team's going to be. They're building a lot of confidence and playing at a high level without their star player. It'll be interesting when she comes back how that impacts them, but it makes them very dangerous because now they know what to do when if she gets in foul trouble. We're going to go do this. But I got to say this, they have used their post player as like the final ingredient. We go big here, we go fast here. Sanchez just ran everywhere. Yeah, they've got different pieces they can put in the post now, and even without lead, they're dictating what's going on in there because of that.
It felt like in the past, it was one of those things where there wasn't very much depth behind Ioka, and so, if the other team had a post player who was really good, or maybe she was a little quicker, or maybe she was more of a stretch five, it was a tough matchup for K-State because they didn't really have anybody to go in, and it was like, Yoki, you better figure it out. And now it's like, okay, well, if they want to do that, if they want to change their game plan to try and attack Lee, K-State's just going to take her out. They'll go offense for defense. All right, we'll put in Gisela Sanchez, and we'll have her guard your stretch five. And guess what? Then we're going to take her out, and Lee's going to score 20 points and on in 18 minutes like she's done in the past. And good luck trying to stop that. And so it just, in a way, it's helped K-State develop that depth. And we've said that the last few years, but I think this year it's really starting to show because all of the post players now have shown that they're more than capable. And guys, I think the most important thing with all of this is that they've each had their game. Eliza Maupin had multiple blocks against Kansas. This was the Gisela Sanchez game where she played the most minutes. Amani Lester matched up with Audie Crooks. Like all three of the post players, and Kennedy Taylor has been starting the game. So all four of the post players have had their moments. And so it makes it impossible to game plan for if you're the opposing coach.
It really does. I mean, do you think TCU had any clue that was coming?
No way.
No way.
Zero chance.
No way. Ethan, what lies ahead for this K-State women's team? What's coming up?
Big one on Saturday. Of course, the men play KU on Saturday, but the women will head to Stillwater to take on number 25 Oklahoma State. I believe the men's have won two. Okay, yep, 2. And after that, they go to Cincy in a very winnable game that they won at home this year, and then they're back at home against UCF before things get tough with KU, Baylor, West Virginia, Iowa State again. But they put themselves in a good position tonight. You hold that tiebreaker now over TCU. It's a theoretical 2-game cushion against TCU now.
And Oklahoma State's kind of the story of the year in the Big 12. They're popped up and they're playing some good basketball down there. Do we have any timetable on Aoka's return?
Right now, we should know more apparently by the end of the week, but Mitty's very positive on the return. What I've heard from people is final 3 regular season games is their get her back then. Even if you finish the regular season without her, just adding her into Big 12 play is just scary for any team. But right now, the belief is final 3 regular season games, which I believe are West Virginia, Baylor, KU, or not KU, Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting. That almost concerns me that only have that few games when she comes back, because then you got to readjust and rediscover yourselves. There'll be a process to that. But this was Cole. This was enormous for K-State women's basketball. I'm going to be really honest here. This is a game they typically lose. They got it at home. You got a really good team. You can take over control of the Big 12. You can do these things that you've been wanting to do. Doink. And it looked like that first half they were doinking, and they didn't. And you like how I created that as a formal term.
I like it.
They didn't. They undoinked in the second half. And again, I got to go back to it. Serena Sundell said, damn straight I'm taking over. I am in charge here. I am the captain now. And she was brilliant in the second half.
She was, and this is an important game for the program. Let's not underestimate that. I guarantee you there were some folks out there who hadn't been to a women's game yet. The fact that the arena was that full on a Wednesday night, that shows a lot. And as a 6:30 game, no less, where there's a lot of people who had to take off work early to get down there. And so for the fact that the arena looked like that, and guys, the fact that we're almost at 800 people in a live post-game show talking about women's basketball, that's a really big deal.
Yep. And
it's really cool for the university. It's really cool for the athletic department. And this program is trending up. And I don't think there's a ceiling for this group. I know we had Missy Heydrich on the Insiders a few weeks back, and we kind of thought that at the time. But, even without having Ioka Lee, it really shows you that, you can dream a little bit with this group because they are that good and they're talented. They can shoot the basketball. They can play defense. They're fast. They're big. They're strong. They can do anything, and just going to be a really fun rest of the year.
Go ahead, E.
Oh, I was just going to say, they don't quit. This is a senior-led team with seniors who have played here their whole career. They don't quit when they're down 6. Instead, they come out and grab a 7-point lead. Not a lot of teams can do that, especially against a top 10 team. Once you start falling behind, it's like, well, we tried. But these seniors didn't give up, aka Serena. They didn't give up. They kept fighting, and they knew they were good enough to win the game, and they sure enough were. That's something a lot of programs don't have anymore, especially in the transfer portal era. Very rarely do you have these all 4-year players that come here and learn the history of the university and all this stuff. It just makes it so much more enjoyable when you have players like Serena, the Jaylen, Briley's. It just means more to them. They love K-State. It's fun to watch. And they don't give up. They will fight till the end. And we saw that tonight.
Yep. I know they're going to lose more than just Aoka at the end of this season. They're going to lose some really good players. But I think a lot of people have been under the impression that the second lead leaves Kansas State, the women's basketball program regresses back to the mean. I don't see any sign of that. I think they're recruiting at such a high level that they're going to be able to just continue to stock the cupboard. There might be some years where I think next year they'll probably have to ramp up and learn some lessons along the way. Yep. But I don't see this program going anywhere in the near future.
No, not at all.
So, okay, boys. Well, anyone else got anything? Because I'm running out of brain cells.
I'm going to
have 2, and I've rubbed them together as long as I
First of all, the old Barn Cat, go K-State, hit the like button. Appreciate you doing our job for us. The only other thing, Fitz, you brought this up. Okay, and I want to talk about this because I think this is the – whoops. I want to talk about
it too?
Yep. I want to talk about this because this is the last thing. Andrew says, I know this is a hot take, but is Lee being out helping the team in the long run? I think we've talked about that. It's 100% yes. Like, this is going to help them when they get to that point because there's going to be times in important games where she's going to pick up 2 fouls in the first half, and they're not going to be afraid to play without her on the court. Nope. I think back to some of those big games that they've played in, and she's gotten in some foul trouble, and it's like, where are they going to go? The biggest thing is these ladies have confidence now. Not that they didn't have confidence before, but they have confidence that they've done it without her on the biggest of stages. So if she's on the bench, great. If she's out on the court, even better. This team is undoubtedly better with her in the lineup. I don't think anybody's going to argue that, but they've shown they can beat anybody even without her.
Agreed. Eve, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Lee thing. How about K-State outscoring TCU in the paint tonight? 32-20. Now, a lot of that is Serena. But when Aoka goes out, you think, oh, no, K-State's got to become this fully perimeter team. They have dominated the last 3 games in the paint. They outscored Audie Crooks and Iowa State in the paint. They dominated KU in the paint. And now they take one of the best centers in the country this season, Sidonia Prince, and beat them in the paint by 12. I mean, this isn't a one-sided team without Aoka. They are getting it done everywhere still, which is scary when you think add back in Aoka. Okay, now everyone can score in the paint, and they know how to.
Yeah, very true. Well, I'll do it for this short post-game podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. We made it to almost 900 people. That's just really amazing for any live on short notice. But K-State fans love their basketball, and now both teams are cooking. It's kind of fun to be a Wildcat right now if you are. And K-State beats TCU. The 12th ranked Wildcats beat the 9th ranked Frogs 59-50. To climb atop the Big 12 conference all by themselves. Now they got to protect being the king of the hill and keep everyone else. I guess it'd be the queen of the hill. Keep everyone else off there and hold on to that place. Boys, good job. Appreciate it very much. I appreciate everyone coming in and joining us. That's it for this podcast. Come check us out. Remember, 60% off right now. GoPowercat ends in 90 minutes.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.